Well, hello there. My name is Sirius Simon, and this is my cowshed. No, I welcome you to my very first attempt at doing a YouTube video. Or the YouTube thing, as I like to call it. I've been streaming for Twitch for several years, rather unsuccessfully, and I've recently felt like branching out. So, this is me, branching out. I've been building this particular city that we're looking at right now for about a month now. And after spending about 5 minutes on coming up with a name, I figured Astonia would be a good fit. Now, if Astonia was maybe founded by, I don't know, the Romans centuries ago, or if it was a small town until some crazy German architect came in with too much freedom and too much money and turned it into this monstrosity that it is now, I'll leave that up to your imagination. I've been playing City Skylines for about 1,000 hours now, all in all. Ever since the release, actually. And I never thought of myself as a particularly good city builder. But I at least feel comfortable enough to share this latest creation with you, the YouTubes. This being my very first YouTube video, I do kind of expect to look at it a few years down the line and look back at this one, the very first one, and think, oh, what was I doing? But for now, let's just enjoy the ride and talk about my city and the game itself. Now, as you can probably tell already, yes, I am using a variety of mods, around 5,000 assets, and obviously, most of you know this, without mods, City Skylines would not be the same game whatsoever. The possibilities that are enabled with mods that allow you to create the city the way you want it to make it look much better than it would just with the vanilla version, is astonishing. And I am absolutely thankful, and I encourage each and every one of you watching to do at least the smallest thing that you can do. If you find a mod on Steam Workshop and you download it and using it and it works just the way you want it to, go back and give it a like, give it a favorite, maybe even leave a nice comment and say, hey, well done. Without you, I wouldn't be playing this game right now. I think it does so much for content creators. I mean, I'm not a creator myself. I mean, I guess now I am, but I'm not a creator of mods, is what I mean. And even small actions like that, they really come a long way for everyone out there. Now, yes, in the future, I would also obviously also provide a list of mods that I'm using. I just kind of can't be arsed to do it today. Sorry. Now, I'm hoping that you are enjoying the view and the video so far. And let me bother you with the inevitable. If you like what you see, I would love for you to click the like button below and maybe even subscribe to me, which really would go a long way for me to battle my lethargic self and actually make more videos in the future. So, thank you for that. Now, without any further blah blah, let us actually jump into the city and see what the hell I did here. Now, we've seen the first impressions, and currently we are hovering over something that was very ugly, actually. But, well, I forgot to mute my phone, apparently. Well. Let's do that now. So yes, that was my phone. There's nobody under the table. There's nobody in the closet. Please don't make any assumptions, even though I've done this myself now. Oh well. Anyway, so this is the start into the city. Obviously, you all know this. 99% of the time, you start out by connecting a highway to whatever road you're building first. And yes, we already start out with a very important asset from the workshop right here. This clover leaf, I believe it is called, is an asset that was, in particular, I remember this, it was created by Yumble TV. I think if we quickly open this, we can find it. Right here, Yumble's trumpet system. Exactly. And if we, by the way, if you didn't know this, if you click on these little Steam icons in game, you can see who made the asset. I will try to do this for everything that I'm showing you, if I can remember that it actually is an asset or a mod. So, yes, the cloverleaf. Now, Yumble being a YouTube creator, I think he's also on Twitch. He's one of the guys that is very particular about finding solutions for traffic issues. And the assets that he has created are very, very useful and helpful. And, well, there's some weird things happening here. I should maybe zoom in. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Some weird graphic glitch. It looks like the cars are disappearing. Anyway, let's just continue. Let's pretend that it's not happening right now. Traffic solutions, yeah. Obviously, it is a very crucial thing, and normally you don't find solutions as elegant as this one. When starting out the city, you kind of just have a road going in, you have a road going out, and that's kind of it. Sometimes due to budget constraints, or sometimes just because, you know, you're starting out with the game and you just don't know any better. That's definitely how I started out. But with mods, it is so easy to just put in this beautiful creation of a cloverleaf and just watch the traffic flow beautifully. And yeah, so that was how I started out. And one of the things I really dislike about City Skylines is generic, well, generic anything really, but in particular generic industries. They smell funny. They create this ugly kind of fog everywhere. You are usually forced to place them because very soon after the residential demand is fulfilled, you will find yourself with an increasingly high industrial demand, and you have to somehow solve the issue. And I want to stress that in this city, we do not have any generic industry. I was building this logging site first, and then the agricultural area here, right next to it. And actually it is getting quite dark. Let's just quickly turn on the daylight. Turn on the light. Here, gameplay. Use day-night cycle. Nope. And back to daylight. So, as I was saying, I've created these two areas. They're not particularly pretty. They just need to function, and I just needed to make some money off of them. And I'd also do quite enjoy just watching things work in game. You know, seeing the trucks going from the logging site to the wood plant, for example, and just dropping off their stuff and then going back and forth. It is just one of the fun and pleasurable things for me to do. And then over here, I created my very first residential zone. And those of you familiar with the game will immediately recognize, well, this is the mid-century. I forgot what it's called. Something like that, anyway. And that was my very first residential zone, which I, as you would normally do, just zoned in, right? You have the zoning tool here for those of you unfamiliar, low density residential zone, and you go paint, and then you can turn it into a district. And once you've done that, you can then decide if you want a particular theme. Here we are the themes manager. And apparently I clicked both for this one. Well, not all buildings are loaded. Very nice. I don't know. It is the mid-modern century pack, that is for sure. And you can see it here. The houses are neat. The houses they have a pool. Congratulations, you have a pool. I don't know. But very quickly, and this is how I usually go about it anyways, I like to place buildings down by hand. Now, how do I do this? There are two ways to do it. You have the beautiful ploppable Rico Revisited mod, and you can pretty much download any types of buildings, and then via the settings tool here, you can implement them into the game and even change the stats for the building. So if you feel like a store doesn't have enough workers, or if a house doesn't carry enough households, well, then you can do something about it very quickly and easily. And obviously that is nice. But then we also have the beautiful Find It tool 2.9 in its iteration, which allows you to look for anything in the game, you know, come up with any term, maybe Coca-Cola, I don't know, and Coca-Cola, because I cannot type Coca-Cola. Yes, it works. And then you find something, depending on what you downloaded from the Steam Workshop. And this way you can also place buildings the same way as you would do with Rico, pretty much, and just go about, look for things, and then place them in the game. And that is what I've done here. And I've tried to, you know, mix a variety of different building styles. Some of them are North American. I believe this is Canadian, maybe Toronto, I'm not sure. Some of them are obviously North American. Some of them are European style. If we look over here, yeah, this here, I believe this is an Edinburgh townhouse. And obviously I wasn't shy spamming these here and there, because that is what we see in real life. And usually what we try is to imitate what we know from real life. So that is what I've done, certainly here. And in this particular area, which was the one that grew after the very first residential zone, where I needed more people to come into the city, for one, to fill up all the working spaces in my industrial areas, but secondly, it is kind of the way it goes, right? You start out building the city and you start out small, but then you kind of want to grow and to improve. And so that is what you do. And in this area in particular, we have this beautiful cultural center, which kind of finishes it up. I don't know what this blinking is. And allows people not only to use this as a library, but to just get together and, you know, spend some time, quality time. Also very important for me personally, when I build a city, there has to be green everywhere, right? I mean, we are living in times where we see an increase of temperature every year, and the summers can get quite exhausting if you are in Europe. And one of the very simple solutions is really to have a lot of trees, because trees not only help to keep the temperature lower because of the shadow that they provide, but obviously they also look nice and just add to our well-being really overall. So I think it is a very crucial thing to have a lot of trees wherever you can, and I've certainly tried to do that. Now, as I was done with this area, and I painted another residential zone, the same style as the very first one, with the mid-modern century pack. I believe that's what it's called. If you correct me if I'm wrong, if you have the actual name of it, I'm not 100% sure. I came up with another roundabout, and of course the roundabout is something that we've seen in the city before. I have two over here, and I have another one here, with this beautiful fountain in the center. And roundabout, you know, being used to divert the traffic quickly and easily from usually a larger incoming road to smaller roads, or maybe roads of the same size. That is, of course, lane mathematics, as Biffa would say. This is what we see here, and what can I say? It just works. And one of the important things, obviously, when you go about making a city, you have to have a good balance. You have to have a balance between the different zones, between residential, commercial, and industrial. And then you also need buildings that, you know, just add different kind of services to the city. That one would be the obvious: education. And education is what we can find over here in this lovely little area, which I am kind of proud of. Not only because I kind of managed to detail it almost to the end, which is not something I usually do, but also because I really love this idea that people are just able to walk in here from the residential zones. Well, okay, there's some office here, but also residential. To walk over here, not having to worry about red lights or traffic or anything. They can just go here, go to school, get educated, hopefully, play some football, and also neat little detail, the shadow from this walk path actually goes over the stands here. I mean, it usually does. Yeah, you can kind of see there's a shadow. And people walk in here and they do their things, and we have a skate park, parking lots, we have a cinema. Obviously, only educational movies are being shown here. A little playground, and then we have this lovely school. I believe, let me look it up real quick. This was made by Smileys from the Steam Workshop. And it is a beautiful, beautiful school. You have this little garden on top, and it is truly beautiful. Very nice. The only downside to this particular building is really that the amount of students it can hold is quite low for its size, I would say. I would have much preferred if this was around 500 to 600 students, but it is what it is. We will take it as it was intended. My voice is struggling a bit today. So, as you can see, the buildings grew larger in size. And when that happens, sooner or later, the inevitable happens as well. More cars are coming in. Every time you build a building and people are filling the building and living in there, they usually come with their own sets of cars. And so traffic becomes an issue at some point. And when it becomes an issue, there is one very simple solution, even though it is sometimes not that simple, that is public transport. You can see here the trams moving about. We do have buses, and so far that is everything we have for our about 30,000 population, as you can see down here in the corner. And yes, it is. I think it's a natural tendency that we have, that whenever we see, oh no, I have residential demand again, then we start putting in larger buildings. We obviously also like to experiment. We like to see, well, what else is there? We have these beautiful buildings. I believe these are from a set called Brooklyn. Old or New Brooklyn, I'm not sure. We also have these houses here. These are part of the Green Cities DLC, because obviously they are green on the outside, which helps isolating the building, I believe. And it's kind of a visual hint that these buildings are, to a degree, self-sufficient. So they provide their own electricity, their own heat. They're very good at retaining heat for the most part. Maybe they even have some kind of solution for water. I don't know. What I like about these buildings is that they look fresh and modern and green. What I don't like so much is, for me as a mayor, they give me less tax income. Greedy bastards. Anyway. And then you start mixing different zones together, right? We have some residential, we have some commercial in between, because it makes sense, because you kind of think, okay, people live here, but people also need to do their shopping somewhere. People also need to provide themselves with food and other things that they want to buy on a daily basis. And so the idea that you have a good mixture of both commercial and residential is kind of natural. Now, of course, what you don't want to mix usually is residential and industrial, because industrial produces not only ground pollution, but also noise pollution, which can make people sick. I guess the stress of the noise level is what actually makes them sick. And you don't want to do that. So, as everything grew in size, I became a little more lazy detailing things, but you can see it is still quite green. We have parks whenever I can squeeze them in. There was this building somewhere. Where was this? Ah, yeah, here. Here was very particular about detailing everything, and I put these ad signs on the wall to not make it look as naked as it was. And I think it looks quite nice. Could you get out of the way? Tree. What the hell? And we have these two buildings over here. And honestly, these are my favorites. Not only the building style itself, but also the backyards, where I, gave people a little lounge area to have a little barbecue and sit and get together. The kids to have a little playground, secured. They don't have to worry about them running on the road or anything. A good restaurant nearby, shops, whatever they could possibly need. And also we have our very first city park, which is actually named after one of my viewers on Twitch, Knaki, a very old friend of mine. We've known each other for many, many years, and let me just tell you, the park is as beautiful as he is. And obviously people are enjoying it. In the midst of all the traffic, all the roads and everything, all the noises, you can just kind of get away here in the park and just relax and have a moment of peace. Yeah. And then I moved along. I kept building, I kept placing down buildings. And at some point I thought, oh yeah, I do need an outside connection. Now, outside connections do several things for your city. In the beginning, the main thing that comes from outside connections is new people that live in your city. But eventually, when you create points of interest in your city, so an example would be, I guess, this beautiful locomotive hall, which is a museum of sorts, it attracts tourists. Now, tourists come to your city, they visit the various buildings that are visible for tourists and they can visit. That makes sense, I guess. And they leave money in your city. And they create traffic on top of it. So it's a give and take. And the easiest way for them to get in, except for the highway connection that you already have, is the train station. Now, this particular train station is also a content creator pack. Let me look it up real quick. This one was done by, I believe, Bad Peanut. Yes, and it is beautiful, and I love it. And thank you very much, Bad Peanut. And you can see here the trains are coming in very slowly, very carefully, as they should. And as you then continue and you try to fill in the blank spaces that you have, you try to think and create some variety, of course. And I thought, okay, this would be a good moment. I think as I was building this, I had around 10,000 people living in the city. And so I thought, you know what, they need a city hall. And so that's what they got. Obviously, this building is of a much older style. I don't know what style this is particularly. If anyone knows, again, please leave a comment. But definitely it looks like it has been here for more than 10 years, let's say. Or maybe it was built that way to look older, but it's actually a brand new building. Who knows? Over here we have a mall for people to come in and, you know, fulfill all their shopping needs, but also for residents to do that, which are over here. We have a university hospital. It made sense at the time to build it. And I then branched out the tram line to connect a new part of the city. And that new part was a new industrial area. This one here. Lots of green space, lots of fertile land. So it made sense to have this empire farmland. And nowadays it has 5 stars, but obviously it did start out rather small. And I then had to come up with new residential zones around it to have enough workers here. And I think, well, I don't think, I know that it actually worked out fine. Sometimes what happens when you play the game, at least it happens to me, I go a little crazy. So, you know, I mix in high residential where it really has no business being. It looks a bit odd here and misplaced, I think. But when the residential demand grows and I'm just thinking, oh my God, I need more people in the city, then, well, that's what I do. At least they're self-sufficient and green, so I guess it's not that bad. And we can see over here the campus, obviously from the campus DLC. And that was an issue in itself. I remember at the time I was building it, I had a demand for it, which is obviously what you usually go by, right? We have here the elementary tab. We can see eligible students 1,500, but we have a much higher capacity because people, I don't know, they're just not sending their kids to elementary school. I'm not sure why. The same for high school, and then here we have the university tab. And, you know, I cannot prove it right now, but please believe me when I tell you that when I was planning this campus area, I had a demand that was even higher than this. It was around 4 to 4,500. And I thought, you know what, that should be sufficient to at least build a small university campus. Well, was I wrong? Because as soon as I started placing down the buildings in a rather neat fashion, I would say, the demand actually went down. Yes, less people wanted to go to university for whatever reason. And that was very upsetting for me because I couldn't fill all these buildings anymore. And let me tell you, a campus area is very expensive in terms of upkeep. And so I was losing money. And you don't want to lose money when you're building with a budget, because that means at some point, if you continue losing money for too long, either you will have to be forced to taking loans, which I never had to do in this city. But if you do, you only kinda, what should we say? The doom spiral of finances is spinning even faster, because then you also have to pay off your loan. And if you're not finding new ways of making money, eventually you'll be forced to declare bankruptcy. And that sucks in real life just as much in this game. Luckily, eventually the demand for university education grew again. So I guess it just takes some time. And so this went up. And also the varsity sports helps a little bit by providing an income when there's a game day and people flock to the stadium to watch in this case it's a basketball team, to watch them play and dunk on each other. Yeah, but as a contrast, I then thought, what am I going to do with this empty space next to my industrial zone, right? There was a bit of gap, and I thought, why don't we get back nature and give nature just a piece of nature back and build this wild nature reserve. And so I did that. And someone burned down their tent. Wow, people, you need to be really careful with the fire. I told you this countless times. You burn down your tents, I'm not replacing them. That tent is gone. Anyway, now this area is called Karki's Forest, and there's a reason why I've named it that way. When I do stream this game on Twitch, and by the way, in case I haven't said this yet, if you do watch this video, which I appreciate, and I would appreciate also if you are a Twitch user and a Twitch watcher, follow me on Twitch as well. But anyway, this forest here, Kaki's Forest, it was named after my good friend Kaki, who is, I would say, very close to nature in her character. She appreciates the gifts of nature, the plants that nature provides for us, and so I thought it would be very fitting to have a nature reserve and to have it surrounded by Kakiville, which is its own village, let's say, and it is entirely made up of self-sufficient buildings. As you can see here, if we do a casual stroll over this, and well, again, here I was getting a little crazy. I was getting desperate because I couldn't find enough workers to work in the industrial zones anymore. But the industrial demand kept increasing, and so I thought, okay, I need to find people that are willing to work over here. And it has worked out to a degree, as we can see here, 349 of 487 workers. That is fine. It works. It creates a profit, so whatever. And that's what we did here, and obviously situated around this little lake. Yeah, that is Kaki's Forest. After creating the campus area, I've also built this little football stadium, lots of parking spaces around, lots of restaurants where people could go either between the halftime break or after or before the game and get a lovely little snack, and also have parking areas provided. As you can see, this parking lot or parking deck is just filled to the brim with cars that are taking rather creative routes to get in and out, but well, that is just how the game works. And as this was done, and pretty much the space that I have available is somewhat filled, not everything, but most of it, I thought, okay, I have this area over here. What am I going to do with it? And this is what I've done with it. Oh, there's people sick here. Oh no, why are they sick? Is that because of the noise pollution? Is this the example that I gave earlier? Kind of, yeah. Okay, let's take a look at that. So, first of all, I created another train station, and the train station is bringing in loads of people, and all of these people take these beautiful pathways to get into our very first pedestrian area, pedestrian only area. And this is obviously part of the Plaza Promenade DLC, the latest DLC released, and only service vehicles or buses are allowed here. So it is ideal for pedestrians to go, walk, and do their shopping, have a snack in these Japanese-inspired restaurants, buildings, whatever they are, all situated around this old market hall, which I think adds just enough character to this. And it is a nice combination, I think, of modern buildings and old school buildings. Modern looking plazas with this very high glass roof. Seems a little too high, doesn't it? Anyway, and different kinds of offices, service buildings, commercial, etc., etc. This over here is a hotel, if I believe. If I remember correct. And that is the latest area in the city, and it is obviously not finished. There's a lot of gaps in here. Oh, hello, Mr. Chirper Balloon. But yeah, that is the current state of the city with about 30,000 people. We have fishing industry over here, the two fish factories producing fish like there's no tomorrow. And then we are saving the fish in these warehouses, which I hope are cooled, because otherwise it's going to smell very badly very soon. And these are providing the goods and moving them all across the city and also exporting them. I don't think I can see to what degree I'm exporting them though. Is there such a... do I have a statistic for that? Disaster detection, tourism, tours, industry areas. No. The fishing industry apparently does not count to the classic industry areas. Industry areas. Fine. The auto fishing industry, it has its own, okay. But it really only tells me if the buildings are active and what kind of fish is being caught here. Okay, fine. Yeah, that is the city of Estonia in its current state after, like I said, about a month of playing. I hope you enjoyed this little trip of my very first YouTube video. And yeah, that leaves me only with, again, thanking you for watching if you did all the way to the end. And I hope to create small little videos like this where I either, show you how I built something or just show you something I have already created and just take you along for the ride. And I hope it is relaxing and maybe inspiring for you. And again, if you haven't, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you feel like it. Also find me on Twitch where I stream kind of irregularly, but I would appreciate each and every one of you. So, nothing left for me to do other than to wish you a lovely day. Thank you for watching and see you next time.